5 best purchases I made in my early 20s. Inside that, I've had so many of you reaching out, asking for this video, as you saw my video that I published several days ago, revealing my 5 worst purchases that I made in my early 20s. If you've not yet checked that out, be sure to do so by following the card above, or go directly over to YouTube, type in Success Insider worst purchases. Because in today's video, I'm going to reveal to you the best purchases I've made in my early 20s that's contributed a ton in regards to my success. These have been the seeds that I've planted that today I'm reaping and harvesting. And if I hadn't made these purchases, I don't believe I would be where I am today. And especially with the final one, even people with money that are coached nowadays with incredible amounts of success, who are my personal clients, sometimes they forget about this one, they neglect it. So make sure to pay close attention, especially to the final point. Now, I want you to always keep an open mind in regards to this process, and always think about the fact that what got you to here isn't going to get you to where you want to be. So have an open mind, because if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten. Without further ado, let's go straight onto the first, which is laptop, phone, and camera. Most people out there in this day and age, with overwhelm, with so many different amount of inputs, so many different amount of advertising, most people would agree that online world is here and it's overwhelming and it can create a lot of distractions. But what you got to realize inside it is this. Have you ever stopped to think how the phone in your pocket right now is literally like a supercomputer? Have you ever stopped to think how that device that you've got in your pocket can reach out to billions of people on this planet? Have you ever stopped to think how the laptop that you got access to can actually reach out to people, can create businesses, can create value? That's the eureka moment I had when I began to come across these online entrepreneurs at a very young age. I was inspired by how they had created so much freedom. So I actually invested in a great laptop, invested in a great phone, and invested in a great camera to be able to get familiar with the whole world of social media, get familiar with the online businesses. I'm ever so glad that I started my journey at such a young age. Because nowadays I spend a lot of time traveling across the world, speaking on stages, revealing exactly what I discovered. And some people, they're starting right now, which is not too late, but sooner than later is always the mindset that you got to have in regards to online world. Because online world is constantly changing, and you got to make sure that you move with the times. I'm sure you can think of businesses, Insider, that has gone bust in your country because they did not move with the times. Here in England, we've got, for example, a huge retail store like Toys R Us that stood test of time until digital era came around, and all of a sudden this huge company goes bust out of nowhere. So it's important that we begin to use these tools and not allow it to use you, because it is overwhelming, I agree. However, I don't allow the laptop, phone, and camera to use me. I don't allow social media to use me. I use social media to launch different businesses, to strike business deals, and to be able to network with global leaders. That is the key. So don't approach it from a consumer point of view. Approach it from an investor. Approach it from a business mindset. And you will not regret purchasing a great laptop and a phone and camera. Seriously, all of these, I'm always upgrading every single year. Why? Because it's a business expense that returns a huge amount of return on investment. And this is why I always get the fastest. Now, that's been the first best purchase I made in my early 20s. And the second is in regards to health supplements. Now, most people, they say to me, Tim, I've tried health supplements, it doesn't work. Well, firstly, you got to realize that there are different standards of health supplements. And secondly, I highly suggest that you begin to educate yourself in regards to the world of health, and especially in regards to doctors. The reason being is we as human beings, we seek instant gratification. The big pharmaceutical industries who prescribe you drugs, they understand this. And this is why we as human beings, we leave it to the last minute before we begin to try to treat a disease or treat something that's gone wrong with ourselves. You never want to postpone health, because without health, there is no wealth. Because if you don't make time for health, you're going to make time for disease later down the line. Health supplements for me has been a worthwhile investment, because when I began to take health supplements, I began to educate myself in regards to the world of big pharmaceutical industry, which I highly suggest that you Google and you look into this stuff. Doctors are paid a premium in regards to commissions when they actually prescribe you drugs, opposed to giving you actual advice that helps you to prevent it. Drugs does not cure the actual issue you're going through. They simply mask over it. Because if you're cured, there is no ongoing payments that's happening. Educate yourself. And by the way, I'm not slaying doctors out there because I've got personal friends who are doctors. What I'm saying, the system out there, if you don't understand the system that's going on, that basically involves a lot of money, billions of dollars, you will be used by the system. You will not be able to use it. So health supplements, and as well as adopting a healthy diet, investing more into organic foods and so forth. Yes, it costed me more, but again, health is the foundation of performance. Health is the foundation of productivity. Health is the foundation in regards to your mindset, the way you think, the clarity that I have every single day. Is it worth hundreds of dollars that I spend on health supplements? You bet. You know, one of the things I'll say, if you want to get into health supplements, don't buy the stuff, the BS stuff in the supermarket. They are synthetic, they don't work for you, your body can't process it. I do have a whole list of supplements that I've tested for over a decade. If you want to check it out, go to successinsider.tv or follow the card that's going to show up right now. Health supplements have been worthwhile, and I take loads today, still to this day, and I'll continue to, as well as to continue to eat a great diet. Because I just want to remind you, you cannot supplement a shit diet. You've got to make sure your diet is in check. You've got to make sure you know about nutrition and all of that stuff. I'm ever so glad I invested into this knowledge. I invested into all of the supplements that I did when I was younger. Now, talking about education, another huge worthwhile investment that I've made in my life that I continue to every single day, self-education. Jim Rohn famously once said this, how traditional education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. I've spent time with incredible amount of successful people out there. And every single one, you will find a trait amongst them. And I'm sure you know how most successful people didn't do well in the college education system, in university and so forth. Most of them have dropped out and educated themselves through mentors as well as coaches. This is what I did. Specifically, what I invested in first was learning about one of the areas that was causing me most amount of pain, which was dating. I used to suffer from social anxiety and low self-esteem and all of the things in between to do with the mindset. And I found it so scary to approach a girl without a light. So I began to research online for solutions, and I came across these mentors who'd been through exactly what I was going through in regards to shyness. So what did I do? I literally invested my money to spend time with them, and sooner or later I began to get the same results. And I remember scratching my head thinking, where was this in school? And when I began to learn more about the mindset in regards to how the way we see the world is simply a reflection of our internal world. So what you actually see isn't what you actually see. When I began to research more into this and commit to mastery, my life totally changed. This is why I'm ever so glad that I invested in self-education at such a young age. I've actually been invited to speak at top prestigious universities out there. And I remember one of the speeches I was giving, one of the students put his hand up and said, how much of your success has actually come from university? And I turned around and basically said to him, and by the way, the moment that the student asked this, the tutor in the room, because it was her lecture, she actually had me as a guest lecturer, basically said, Tim, you can tell the truth, and she blocked off her ears. You know, even the tutors know how university isn't the solution if you want to create a successful life, however you like to define it. It will make you a living, but it will not create a life of freedom. And this is why I turned around and said probably about 5%. To be honest, the most amount of results I ever gotten from university was probably moving out of my hometown and just being surrounded by different people and interrupting my environment. That's my biggest takeaway from uni. Everything else, I've educated myself. I attended online courses, offline courses, and I continue to do every single week, because the more I learn, the more I will earn. Simple as that. Now, the fourth is self-grooming. It's interesting in regards to self-grooming because I used to run a business where I would flip products on eBay. I'm not sure if it works so much like it did nowadays, but I'm sure you could still make profit. One of the things you got to realize is how perception is reality. You may have seen the video that I published the other day where I talked about the Mont Blanc pen I've got and how Mont Blanc charges $700 plus for a pen that simply writes. It does the same function as a $1 pen. The only difference is perception. I want you to write this down in the comments box below. Perception is reality. And so when I was younger, I got into the world of flipping stuff on eBay, and it was so easy. All I did was I took the camera and I began to buy the products, some t-shirts I saw listed on eBay really poorly with a blurry camera. And so what I did was I bought it at like £1, £2, £3, and I would flip it for about £20. And all I would do is take my nice camera, take a nice photo, make sure the background is white, and people would spend more when it's on an auction. It's because the way it was perceived. Like it or not, yes, it's important in personal development that you do not seek validation from other people. However, we got to understand the influence triggers of other beings. The influence trigger that everybody has in common is we do make millisecond judgment. And there's a reason for this. There's a primal conditioning that we got to be able to judge somebody, because in the past, if we didn't make millisecond instinct judgment, that thing could have killed us. And this is why sometimes you meet somebody and you know that that person is probably bad and you should avoid them. The question is when somebody comes across you, how are you presenting yourself? Because back in the past, when I was around 17, I did not pay attention to this. You may have heard a story before of me walking to my job interviews when I was trying to get out of my drug dealing phase in my life. And I was wearing a white tracksuit, like zipped up all the way to here so you can't even see my mouth. And I didn't know why I was getting turned down left, right, and center. And the reason is because I was not presenting myself. So what did I do when I began to research into this? I bought a nice suit, a grey suit. I looked sharp. And the moment I made that change, I'm now going into these interviews. They look at me different. They treat me different, because perception is reality. Go watch how luxury stores do it. Go model success. I'm ever so glad I invested into, for example, skincare routine. Finding out about how different clothes has a different attachments in regards to labels and so forth, as well as in regards to just making sure that my health is in check, because you just can tell when somebody's health is in check, and you can tell when somebody's ill, right? So you're going to make sure that you got that vibrant energy, you got that aura. I'm sure you've met somebody before. They didn't even say anything, and you can just tell that they're on it, right? They got that aura, health, vibrancy, energy. Groom yourself. Love yourself. Realize inside that you're born to win. Present yourself. Because the moment I began to groom myself and actually look after myself and go for massages and so forth, I began to feel good as well. And when you feel good, you can connect with others with a better mood, and it's amazing. I'm ever so glad I invested into this, and I continue to invest in self-grooming. Number 5 is the most important, which is magical experiences. Despite everything I've said, I'm ever so glad that I've invested in the past, or I should say I've spent money in the past on experiences that cost money. At the end of the day, Insider, no matter where you are, do not postpone life. Do not wait for life to happen. It's not going to happen one day. If right now you're not treating yourself now to experiences such as going abroad or, spending time with your friends, if you're not doing it right now, I can assure you, you're not going to do it one day in your mythical land when you think you've got money. Not all experiences require money. Every morning I'm doing a gratitude routine. And every time I'm thinking of, things I'm grateful for, I'm thinking back of the past when I actually didn't have money and we would just go on a little walk and things like this. It was still magical. And if I was to ask you, think of the happiest moments of your life, you will probably turn around and think about the moments that either involve relationship with yourself or relationship with others. It never relies on some relationship with a material object that you've purchased. Don't delay life. This money is simply a tool. You can earn more money, but you cannot earn back more time. Studies have shown how if you want to be happy, spend it on experience. Set aside a budget every single month where you're going to just splurge on something, and you're going to allow yourself to splurge. Because sometimes savers don't let go of money, so they never enjoy this journey. They're just waiting for retirement. Don't be one of those people. Because trust me, there are things that when you're retired, when you're 60, 70 years old, you wouldn't have the youthful energy to enjoy. Don't postpone life. Live it every single day. Ask yourself every single day, how can I make today magical? If it involves money, just check with your budget. If it works, go do it. Because these are the moments that makes your life worth living. Create a life that you will remember, where at the end of it all, you'll say to yourself, thank you. I'm ever so thankful that I did what it takes to be able to create a life that's beautiful, full of memories. It had both the ups and the downs, but guess what? I made the most of every single second. That's what it's all about. Magical experiences has been my best purchase and continues to be. I think back over every memory, and it always involves with time with my family. When I took them abroad last year, for example, to Seoul, South Korea, seeing a smile on my mum's face. That stuff is priceless. That does not beat buying a Rolex watch or buying a fancy car, trust me. Once you get over that material stuff, you realize how it's times, experiences with your loved ones, that's what it's all about. Go make it happen, Insider. These are the 5 best purchases I've made in my early 20s. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, I'm curious to know. What have been your 5 best purchases that you've made in your life? Be sure to comment into the chat box below. And if you found today's video helpful also, be sure to share this video with your friend and loved one who got to hear this message, as life is all about paying it forwards after all. And like this video if you like this video, and comment below in regards to any questions, feedback you may have also. And as always, Insider, follow your heart, my friend, and take action, and go live the life you're truly born to live. I'll see you on the next video soon.